Good morning, sixth graders. We are going to start off this week by learning about plot. Before we can dive into plot, we're going to review a couple things, but our objective for today is that I can identify the different parts of a plot. So first, we are going to review what is theme, and then make sure we know what things are a theme and what are not, and also a quick review of conflict, and to make sure we know what the four types are. Awesome. Make sure you have those down on your paper now. So as we continue, let's review by using this passage. We are going to read to find out the conflict and then the theme of this passage. Follow along. A crow was nearly dying of thirst, then saw a pitcher of water left on the back porch. He flew over to it excitedly. When the little bird reached the water, he discovered that it contained so little water that he could not possibly get at it. He tried everything he could think of to reach the water, but none of his efforts worked. They were way too far down. At last, he collected as many stones as he could carry, and he dropped them one by one with his beak into the pitcher. By dropping them into the pitcher, the water slowly rose to the top. He was able to drink it, and it saved his life. So now before we move on, go ahead to your handout and answer the three questions. What is the conflict in this passage? What is the theme in this passage? And how is the passage revealed? How is the theme revealed? Make sure you think about those different strategies that authors use to reveal theme. Awesome. So now that you've got that down, we are going to move on to plot. Plot is the major events that make up the story. It's actual, just like the stuff that happens in the story. Flip the page, copy this down, copy everything down that's in green and underlined. Other stuff I put in there as notes. It's important for you to read and see, but the green underlines you should definitely have written down. So go ahead and first trace this, copy it down, and then unpause the video for more detail. So an exposition, that is the beginning of the story where we learn about the characters and setting. It's really the author getting started. Right in the middle is the climax, which is the most intense and emotional part or action of a story. To get from the exposition, the very beginning, to the climax, there's always a rising action. It's very dramatic and very suspenseful, and it leads us towards that climax. It's kind of the first actual events that happen in a plot. Sorry, guys. And then the very end of a story is a resolution. It's sort of like the conclusion, the end, the final part of a story. And it never goes in a story from this most intense and emotional part to just it being over. There's always a falling action, kind of when things start to slow down and lead us towards a resolution. So make sure you have all those things on your paper, and then we move forward. Also, remember in our narrative writing, we've been talking about having a clear beginning, middle, and end. That's the simple way to think about it, but note that the beginning of a story is always your exposition and rising action. The middle, where that big intense action takes place, that's the climax of the story. And then we start to see the end with the falling action and resolution. So from now on, when we write narratives, instead of telling you to have a beginning, middle, and end, your brainstorm is going to be this plot mountain right here. And also the conflict, whatever the big problem is in a story, we usually learn about in the beginning. Just like in Hatchet, we learned about the conflict of the fact that he's crashed and landed his plane at the very beginning of the story, because the conflict is never resolved until the end, that resolution. And also theme, because when we learned about the theme and we're annotating, you can see it sort of gets developed throughout an entire text. And there's lots of different ways that authors can develop a theme. So I know that was a lot of me talking. Just make sure you guys have those things written down. When you are done, go to the next video that is on your section of the playlist.